I think most of us have been shocked at the dramatic rise of anti-Semitism throughout the country. Unfortunately, we've even seen quite a bit of it coming from some members of Congress. But in the midst of all of this, we have some U.S. Jewish groups that have called for supporters of Israel to stage a massive pro-Israel rally next week in Washington, D.C. It's being called the March for Israel. It will take place on November 14th on the National Mall here in Washington, D.C., and joining me now to discuss this is Rabbi Yaakov Menken. He's the managing director of the Coalition for Jewish Values. And I do want to say that this interview is actually not coming to you live. We recorded this a little bit earlier today so that Rabbi Menken can observe the Sabbath. That being said, Rabbi Menken, my friend, great to see you again. Welcome back to Washington Watch.
Great to be with you.
Well, listen, let's just jump right into this. Tell us about the event that's coming up next week.
This rally on the 14th is actually even surprising to me how incredible everybody is coming out for this particular rally. That organizations that ordinarily don't participate in rallies or only do their own thing, here there's incredibly broad unity in favor of standing up at this critical moment to oppose anti-Semitism and support Israel.
It really is amazing, and I know we plan to be there ourselves to show our tremendous support. But, you know, as you look at this, it really is a massive event. It looks like it's just turning into be a huge thing, and multiple groups from all across and individuals, of course, are going to be joining us. What are you hoping that comes from this? You and other organizers, what do you want to see as a result of this rally?
There needs to be a pushback. I mean, look at America on college campuses, these horrific celebrations of barbarism, the people who are backing the horrific rapes and murders that took place on October 7th. And now they're out there in force calling for a ceasefire, which would be an opportunity for Hamas to regroup and rearm while the families of the hostages, and of course the hostages themselves, continue to suffer. A call for a ceasefire right now is immoral and wrong, and therefore it is important that those who wish to be a voice for what is moral and just and good stand up in response and say, no, Congress, do not listen to these people.
Absolutely. You know, you would have to be, as I am, I think most people are, absolutely shocked at the dramatic increase of anti-Semitism across the country and the protests of individuals that seemingly are supporting Hamas terrorists. It's just shocking to see what has happened. On the flip side of that, I think you have to be encouraged as you see the response of people beginning, as you say, to push back against this anti-Semitism. And even with this upcoming march, it's got to be incredibly encouraging to see how people are beginning to stand up and push back.
Well, it really is an inflection point for America. We're less than a century from the Holocaust. We know what happens when when this level of hate is allowed to continue to spiral out of control. And I think a lot of Americans were shocked when groups like Students for Justice in Palestine and Black Lives Matter took their masks off. They showed you this was never about a Palestinian state or a government, or in the case of Black Lives Matter, about standing up against racism. Oh, no. The agenda here was hatred towards the Jews and the Jewish people and for values in general. And it's time for all Americans who still appreciate that values stand for something and that they, in fact, built this first world country and the world's preeminent superpower. That all comes out of a set of values that, sadly, these people do not share. And it's time for us to stand up against it.
Well, and many are standing up against it. What was your take on the censorship of the representative from Michigan, Rashida Tlaib, as she was censored for her anti-Semitic remarks?
There's actually a key difference between censure and censor. She was not censored. No, she's allowed to spout her anti-Semitism. She's allowed to say what she feels. But it's all the more important to shine a light on that. Let her say what she thinks and let Congress censure her. What was most heartening about that was watching 22 Democrats cross the aisle to vote to censure one of their own, because her comments were blatantly hateful. They were blatantly over the line. There's no such thing as a first world army that bombs civilians, much less a hospital, deliberately. Yet she made that accusation again and again and again, even though the army of the Jewish state has Muslim Arabs in it. She absolutely wants you to believe that it's the Jews who are the racists, while she is the problem.
Absolutely. Real quickly, where can people go to get more information about the march coming up next week?
There is a website unique for this item, marchforisrael.org. It is a collaborative project, again, between a lot of very large Jewish organizations that, if anything, they were very slow to come to recognize how anti-Semitic the left, the progressive left, truly was. Otherwise, we're going to continue posting bulletins of our own at cjvalues.org or coalitionforjewishvalues.org. But I think marchforisrael.org is your best place.
Great. Rabbi Menken, always great to see you. Thank you for standing in the gap, and thank you for joining us on Washington Watch.